First Fruits, the chapter by chapter Bible study series, and we're on Job 2. This is crazy. Last chapter, we got introduced to our main man, Job. We also got introduced to sons of God and heavenly hosts, and the picture of God and Satan having conversations about human faithfulness here on earth. God gave Satan permission to test Job, and it's catastrophically awful. He lost his family, he lost his finances, anything worth anything. He still remains faithful. Now it's time for our second test. Chapter 2. One day the sons of God came again to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with them to present himself before the Lord. The Lord asked Satan, "Where have you come from?" God is not asking this question because he doesn't know. It is not by lack of knowledge. It's to initiate dialogue. Satan has to respond for him, and Satan also has to let him know exactly what he is doing. It is to establish God's superiority to the sons of heaven who are listening, and letting them know what Satan's plans are, because they don't know unless God reveals it to them. And then he's also revealing to us human readers. He knew our eyes were going to be laid upon the pages of this Bible, and he knew that we need to know and we need to be reminded of who is supreme. You have to learn what Satan's role is versus what God's role is. And even Satan has to show up and make an account for what he's doing. "From roaming through the earth," Satan answered him, "and walking around on it." Then the Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job?" This is the second time that God is bringing Job to Satan's attention. "No one else on earth is like him, a man of perfect integrity who fears God and who turns away from evil. He still retains his integrity even though you incited me against him to destroy him for no good reason." Satan does not admit that he was wrong, and God is saying, "You remember when you said this?" Verse 4, Satan responds, "Skin for skin," Satan answered the Lord. "A man will give up everything he owns in exchange for his life. But stretch out your hand and strike his flesh and bones, and he will surely curse you to your face." "Very well," the Lord told Satan, "he is in your power, only spare his life." So Satan left the Lord's presence and infected Job with terrible boils from the soles of his feet to the top of his head. Then Job took a piece of broken pottery to scrape himself while he sat among the ashes. Satan the accuser is still saying that Job is going to curse God to his face. He's accusing him of being callous. He doesn't care about his family. The ashes that he goes to sit at, ancient scholars, people who studied ancient texts, they comment that this was probably the town's garbage, the local dump. The ashes were piled at the local dump. Complete desolation and humiliation. Job, after he lost everything, is now covered head to toe in boils, is going to sit at the town dump to scrape off his boils. Verse 9, his wife said to him, "Are you still holding on to your integrity? Curse God." Job's wife is a co-victim of this testing. It is not just affecting Job that they lost their children and their wealth. His wife is very much alive and all up in the hurt. And what's crazy is this one line of dialogue that she spits out sounds a lot like our accuser, the one who is tempting him to curse God. Literally what Satan is trying to tempt him to do. I can't help but think, because of the fact that her one-liner sounds just like Satan, that she's being used as an instrument right now for him. It just shows that her faithfulness was probably the one that was more transactional. She was the weaker one spiritually of the couple. Verse 10, "You speak as a foolish woman speaks," he told her. "Should we accept only good from God and not adversity?" Throughout all of this, Job did not sin in what he said. His wife was being a bad influence. Unfortunately, she did not do well in this testing. But Job rebuked her and then says one of the most famous lines in Job, "Should we accept only good from God and not adversity?" He passed that test with flying colors, and he also rebukes his wife and hopefully changes things for her spiritually. We see ultimately it will work out for her good. All she has to do is wait and continue to suffer. And we see that later on. Verse 11, Now when Job's 3 friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, heard about all this adversity that had happened to him, each of them came from his home. They met together to go and sympathize with him and comfort him. When they looked from a distance, they could barely recognize him. They wept aloud, and each man tore his robe and threw dust into the air on his head. Then they sat on the ground with him 7 days and nights. But no one spoke a word to him because they saw that his suffering was very intense. Job's friends don't really get a lot of credit for this initial reaction because later on they open their mouth and just kind of spoil it all. But they went to Job's desolation and humiliation and his suffering, and they sit with him 7 days and 7 nights in silence. Ancient etiquette, when someone was in mourning, they waited this long amount of time. They waited for the person who was in mourning to speak first. That was just the polite way to mourn with somebody. They saw his pain and sat silently with him. And when they opened their mouth finally, it kind of messes it all up. It was just enough time to process emotions and to allow Job to finally speak. God is all-knowing. He knows what Satan's doing. He's just letting us know and letting the sons of heaven know. God is sovereign, and Satan has to answer to him. What kind of spouse are you? Are you an instrument of the devil? Or are you staying steadfast and strong in the Lord and uplifting your spouse? Clear example of what to do when someone is completely devastated, humiliated, or living in desolation. To go and sit silently. Don't try to fix it. Don't try to convince them of what they need to do next. Sit silently with them. Thank you for watching this 4am, and I'll see you in the next one when we cover Job chapter 3.